Greetings from Seoul, Korea, and welcome to GSL Code A Part 2 here. I'm here with Wolf. I am Tasteless. We already, just at 1 p.m. today, did Group C. Now we're here in Group D.
Yep. Group D is definitely going to be a good one. We've got 3 Protosses and a Terran. Cure being the odd man out of the group. At least for him, he only has to prepare for 1 matchup TVP. And
that's very true.
He played pretty well, actually, in Pro League and was able to defeat Super, the ace player for MVP. So I like his chances here getting out of the group.
It's going to be interesting, kind of like we had in Code S last season. A very Protoss group. Protoss is still doing very well right now in the meta in StarCraft II. We do have 3 great Protosses. Earlier on today, to recap, well, actually, what were your favorite parts earlier on today?
Well, honestly, I would say just to see how well Impact played the first series against Byung, who I think was a big favorite. That was my favorite part of the group, just to see like how well he was able to stand up to the pressure. He
was really good. I was really excited to see how Byung was so strong with Terran. We were talking about this a lot in the earlier part of the day. Terrans have not been doing as well, so now we're seeing Terrans, the ones that are doing well, the ones that are not necessarily the best at Terran versus Terran.
Yeah.
So we saw some TVZ here from Byung where he went up against Impact and DRG. He played really well using mech and then using bio play, but not just your standard bio pushing style, actually splitting up his army into 2 different parts. Normally not as effective, and I'm not talking about dropping somewhere and then pushing somewhere else. I'm talking about actually splitting up bio armies.
Yeah, like small groups of units.
Yeah,
like,
while dropping in other places too, slowly dissecting the Zerg on maps that were quite large. Normally Zergs prefer to be on maps such as that. So that was really exciting for me. We had
his big like rocket push across the map with mech where he just waited till he had max out and just like walked through everything like nothing mattered in front of him and just hit that timing. Even though DRG had like plenty of swarm hosts and it seemed like DRG had enough creep spread to delay the attack long enough, he just got crushed by it on the biggest map in the pool and cross spawned. So just little things like that were pretty impressive in his play today. It definitely deserved that first place spot.
It was a lot of fun, but again, you know, we had talked about the Terrans being the ones that are dominant now, being very good at not necessarily at the TVT, but more importantly right now, TVZ, TVP. At the same time, for a Protoss player, what's the most important matchup? Well, PvP and then PvZ.
Yeah, it seems to be PvP, definitely the most important matchup right now. And if you wonder why we have so many Protosses in Code A, well, half the players that are in Code S go to Code A. And if there's almost only Protosses in Code S, what you might expect is a lot of Protosses are going to knock other Protosses back down to Code A. So we're going to have a pretty big distribution here. The question is how many of them are going to get back into Code S?
Yeah, that's the big question on everybody's mind. Will Code S still be, you know, possibly even half filled with Protoss? It can happen. You know, right now, Protoss is a race that we've had a lot of time to figure out. It definitely has more avenues as far as tech options. Even when you go down a specific tech, you still have another branch in that tree where there's all sorts of different units you can pick and combinations of those units.
Yeah.
So just to recap here, we are going to go take a look at Group C and what happened yesterday.
Yeah, here they are.
Or earlier today, excuse me.
Exactly.
We don't normally do double days here.
It feels like yesterday, but Byung was able to take Impact 2-1, then DRG crushed Tastar, poor guy, and then Byung was able to take then another T1 against DRG. Both close series, but very well won. Impact beat Tastar 2-0, as did DRG, and then, of course, DRG triumphed 2-1 in the final match. And here are our matches for our current group.
We're going to start out today with Paralyze against Kira PBT, then Younghwa, the tragic hero of the GSL, up against Super.
Yep.
Now, again, you know, Kira, as you were saying earlier, Wolf, he's only had to prepare for 1 matchup, a Terran versus Protoss. I really hope we could see Younghwa again in the GSL Code S. It would be a real Cinderella story to see him go all the way through Code S at least once and actually become a champion. But history at times does repeat itself, especially here in the GSL. If you've been watching us for a long time, Younghwa has been around since the beginning, doing very well in the team league, finally making it to the individual leagues. He played with the very best of the best at the time, like Seed, like MC, like MVP, like Nestea. But he wasn't able to get deep in any individual tournament, and it's been a bit sad. So he hasn't faded out yet, but he's still in limbo as far as being one of the top-tier players. He's not off the map either, but he's still on his journey.
Yeah, I feel like in this group, there's not a single odd man out like there was with Tassadar earlier. Everyone in this group definitely has a chance to make it. Cure and Super stand out as the favorites just simply because of their results. And Paralyze will be playing up against Cure in this first match. Paralyze got into Code S last season by playing that wildcard match. He played for like something like
7 hours?
7 or 8 or 9 hours. Like he played 13 tiebreakers, 13 in order to get into Code S, and then he lost right away. So he's got another chance to get right back in here. Whereas Cure has really wowed some people with his Pro League performance. He hasn't come out often for Jenner because they have better players like Maru to rely on for Terrans, but when he does come out, he plays really, really good games, has a solid win ratio, and I think he's probably going to get out here.
I think he very well may. I mean, anybody who can do that well in that many games over a 7-hour period of time definitely has the stamina, and stamina is so critical in a group phase here in GSL because this, I mean, who knows, this could even go on for 7 hours today. It wouldn't just be Paralyze playing, but then more power to Paralyze just there.
Yeah.
And it looks like game number 1 and our first best of 3 is ready. Paralyze up against Cure here in our second half of today's GSL Code A.
Down here in the bottom of the map in teal, the Afro Toss, he is
Paralyze.
Keeping his hair pretty tame actually these days, as you can see. Doesn't
got it straightened.
Yeah, it doesn't look like an afro right now.
And over here in the upper right, our only Terran player. He is
Cure.
We're on our very first ladder map that's 3-player. We only had the only other 3-player map that I can ever think of that we had in the GSL was a map called Zelnaga Fortress that had the watchtower that self-destructed after 7 minutes.
Yeah.
In the center of the map, that's like the only other one.
3-player maps tend to not be as popular.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and see what happens now in this matchup. Terran, as we had cited before, not doing well, not popular. So the Protosses in general have not been as focused on that. Even if you're a Protoss going into this group, you could lose to a Terran and still easily get out.
Yeah, it's true.
So oddly enough, Cure in a way, I guess you could say, has an advantage.
Yeah.
Depending on how fair you think the matchup actually is.
Or how good his TVP is in general. So he goes gas first here, actually, which is kind of funny. I wonder what he's got planned with that. Most likely will be either like a Hellion drop with Marines at the front, or possibly a Marine drop with Hellions at the front. Sometimes we see Widowmine drops on maps like this where you can kind of jet across. The map size is actually pretty deceiving. It looks like at first when you look at it, it's not that far. But it's actually pretty far, the rush distance, even though there's no cross spawns. I guess you could argue you're always cross spawn across one part of this triangle. But you're not like, there's no far spot where you're like, okay, it could be further. All the spawns are equidistant from each other.
Factory is about halfway done. We're still waiting for the cybernetic score to finish to get some definitive direction here as to what tech route Paralyze is going to take. Now, Paralyze is parked that probe over there just outside of Cure's base. Let's see if he has perhaps a hidden pylon. Nope, it just stopped moving and it started up again. He may not make that tech until the SCV is driven out, whether that be via the mothership core or the Stalker.
Yeah. Widowmine comes in first here at the factory, indicating that we'll have at least one Widowmine in this drop. Doesn't mean he's not going to add a Hellion afterwards. We have seen both used together. I miss the afro. I'm not liking that haircut actually that much, comparatively.
What is the craziest thing you've ever done with your hair?
Dyeing it blonde Eminem style.
Eminem style?
Well, I mean,
I bleached my hair before.
Yeah, basically that's like as close as I can describe it. It was basically bleaching my hair.
I had a mohawk, purple hair, pink hair, red hair.
A lot of people actually.
Crayola box.
I've seen a lot of pictures of you, but I've heard like even more stories than pictures I've seen about the things you've done with your hair. Like you've. Told me a lot.
I wanted to do dreads at one point in time.
Really? I can't even imagine that.
I mean, I was a little bit. I must have been like maybe. I probably was about your age. What, you're 22?
23.
23. I'm like, you're 16, right? You're like, no, Taste, it's not at all.
14.
14, actually. No, I thought about doing it, but then you look at how much time it takes, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Now we have the medevac coming out here.
Yeah, one Hellion is oftentimes just there because the probes will panic and then stack up, does some extra damage.
Yeah.
This Stargate here likely to be for Oracle, and it is, but that's not going to be really useful defensively here. And he better not lose that Oracle to the Marines in the drop. We've seen that like once or twice.
And he's going to get a bunker down here, along with the drop happening over here at the top, not completely dumping out everything. The Widow Mine's not yet been released. Now he triggers the Nexus Cannon, which will take out the bunker over here, but that's fine. He can keep on attacking up here. Now he needs to get that Widow Mine somewhere critical, ideally somewhere where the workers are, but it's taking a lot of damage so far.
Yeah, he's going to land it here.
Oh, barely actually bros that.
And that actually gives detection, that Oracle, but he doesn't have enough damage output, actually, funny as it is, to finish off the Widow Mine. He's going to lose that Stalker. He should lose both Stalkers here.
Yep.
And that's damage enough, actually, I would say.
A little bit of miscontrol there. Okay, that was a fair amount of damage. Considering that the Widow Mine was kept alive, the Hellions are a bit expendable there. But yeah, I mean, he kept the Widow Mine out there. He got the Medevac out there. That's fine. I think he did a good job punishing Paralyze.
Yeah. You know, killing those Stalkers is pretty expensive, and it really limits what the Protoss player can do aggressively for the next part of the game. He's following up, of course, with additional barracks, adding those, additional Widow Mines as well, because they're kind of a staple of the matchup right now. And Widow Mines just giving a lot of Protoss players a bit of trouble with the mid-game if they're going to that Charge Zealot Storm composition. This Oracle gets only one kill. It's very low on energy because of what happened earlier, but it's still going to be a threat. It's going to lurk around. Ooh, he's got to be careful with that, though. It's like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory fan over there. Doesn't want to fly into that either.
He better not get stuck in that chocolate tube either, Wolf.
Yeah, man.
That scared me when I was a kid, man. Actually, chocolate.
Yeah, it scared me too, actually.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a pretty scary movie with the Oompa Loompas.
Yeah, that movie actually scared me a lot. Like when
I remember I was at my grandma's house, and she's like, well, I have a movie you can watch. And I turn it on, and I'm like, ah, what are those orange guys with green hair?
Well, this kid like looks like he drowns, and he gets sucked up in the tube. I'm like, oh, that's like really scary.
I'm like, this is pretty dark, man. I thought kids weren't allowed to die in movies, at least not at the age group that I'm going to be watching.
She turns into a blueberry. I'm like, whoa, is that ever going to be put back to normal?
That's pretty dark. Can like the doctor fix that? I don't know. And it looks like he's going to actually not slip out here. In fact, he might just lose this Oracle.
He's going to save it, I think.
Wow, just barely. 16 HP. The Oracle does escape.
You may look at this and say, well, he made a Stargate and he made an Oracle and only got one kill, and it's now like probably not going to be able to fight anything. But it was really important, actually, because it gave him that detection back at home.
Yeah.
And I think that it's still worth it for him. He's transitioning pretty smoothly now into Double Forge Colossus.
It's also important to note that he can at least scout around with this. I mean, who knows, later on the Terran might try to sneak out a third. There's that Oracle. It could take out that SCV and really slow down the entire game for his opponent.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
We have a small push coming up here. He's got to be careful. The Oracle does spot that. Another benefit of just keeping that alive.
Yeah, he could have tagged it, actually, but he wants to use this energy more aggressively, it looks like.
Yeah, and I think that's smart. He can come over here, and if he can just, let's say that gas finishes over there on the left side, he could start to take out, or he can kill the SCV, making it whatever, as long as he's killing
something,
workers.
Man.
Yep.
He can come back later once it's finished, finish off the job. I don't know about this, though.
This is going to be a loss.
Ouch. Well, I mean, there's one Colossus out. Yeah,
he should not engage here.
There's a Mothership course, so I don't think he wants to fight this. But I think this is kind of a test the waters. Do you have a third base? No, I'm going to make one. And I'm going to have my third base first as a result.
Now, he might try to pick up here with both of these and drop into the main. If he does drop with one, I'm going to be a bit surprised simply because, as has been happening for a while, general rule of thumb is that when you get to players of this caliber, trying to attack in two different locations when the other guy's on two base just doesn't work unless the other player makes a mistake. Yeah. Your strategy should never be hinged on the other player making
a mistake.
Yeah, making a mistake.
It's kind of how stuff works on like the ladder, but not at the professional
Yeah, I mean,
play.
yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're hoping your opponent's going to make some blunder, that might get you so far on the ladder. But I mean, you're not going to become a champion by hoping that the other guy is, his play is wrought with error.
Yeah. Well, upgrade-wise, we have a pretty significant lead for Paralyze, and that's only going to continue with Chrono Boost usage.
Yeah, he is going to get that Thermal Lance. Blink's about halfway done. Terran's Command Center is moments away from finishing, although we don't have SCVs being transferred there just yet.
Yeah, they're kind of like leaking in, it looks like. We'll have 3 SCVs over there in a second.
We'll have to see if Protoss does a counter push here. He does have all his gateways up and running with +1 and Blink and the Thermal Lance finishing up. I mean, the Protoss definitely has the ability to push out on the map, and it looks like instead he's going to get that third base up and running.
Yep, starts +2/2. So he's at 1/1 now versus just the +1 attack for Cure. I really don't like Cure's position all too much. He doesn't have any answer for the Colossi, and by the time that he does, he's going to have switched to High Templar, and right now his army is almost completely Marines too, which means the Colossi do even more. Whoa.
Yeah, get out. GTFO.
Definitely not a warm welcome.
Yeah. The supplies right now are pretty even for where this game's going. The Protoss a little bit lacking, but they will catch up here. And, yeah, I mean, this has been a pretty standard game so far. Neither player really able to damage the other one too much. Let's see if we get a scan over here on this observer. There's always going to be observers over your army whenever Terran pushes out.
Yep, that scan misses that one.
Yep, looks like he was checking for the expansion instead. And we now have a drop over here in the second. Meanwhile, possible pressure over here at the third. They're now hitting the cannon. A few Zealots being warped in here, but that's just to sandbag the issue till the real units and Stalkers can now get in there.
Oh!
What? Move it! Move it! Oh my God, what is happening?
If he loses that one, man, I'm just going to lose my mind.
Well, this is just like, he should actually get the hallucination over there on the other side and push it in.
That actually would have worked,
That's some sick, my player's not paying attention strats.
Yeah.
So
there's actually a lot of those, though, to be honest. Like,
yeah, I mean, if the guy's not watching, you're like, well,
you know
the
good old like move command and then attack because you know he's not paying attention.
Yeah,
you want to like wait until like you actually can get the most DPS before you can realize. Yeah, it's a real thing.
And now Protoss is going to push up here. This is a smart move. I mean, two medevacs rather were killed, and one was left but damaged and hardly had anything in it. There's a possibility right now that Paralyze can tear through this base and really hurt the Terran. I mean, possibly even take out this expansion. We'll have to see. You got to be careful because the Terran does have the opportunity to get Vikings out now. The upgrades are looking pretty good. In fact, there's 10 Vikings out already. And so instead we're going to have another boost of gateways. And +3 attack is on the way.
He really is powering out the Vikings, but that means his medevac count's going to get, I don't want to say diminished, but he's not making as much as he could otherwise. And he's actually making a pretty swift transition to Ghost Academy. I like that. It's quick enough to where he's basically trying to stay one step ahead. And a Ghost Academy is not actually a very expensive structure. I feel like we're going to see as the game evolves, players get that a little bit faster. Because if you just make that academy, it's pretty cheap, and then you don't have to use it until you need it. But if you don't have it and suddenly you need to switch that, it's the time to build the Ghost Academy that's more important than actually the cost of building it. So I think that we'll probably see players make that a little bit earlier, especially as we see Terran players take third bases more regularly and more quickly. I mean, there was a time when everyone was just two-base SCV pulling or making a third CC and not using it. You know? Yeah.
Well, they were just using it to, bank SCVs and get mules and scans and stuff. So Terran's going to come out here now. We had no SCV pulls here, right? Did we?
No,
there's no SCV pulls. Okay, I thought I saw a few SCVs, but I wasn't sure if he had actually taken a few more.
Almost too many Vikings, Tases. He has how many Vikings now?
Like I think
too many,
16,
I think.
Or 16 or 14? We're going to scan here.
Well, there are 5 Colossi, yeah. 3-3 is about to be done here, actually. He's trying to hit before us. I think he's like scanning, he's clicking, he's like, wait a minute, you don't have that yet.
Actually, 21 Vikings, even way more than I thought.
Well, these Colossi don't stand a chance.
No, they do not. Well, I mean, especially the Colossi aren't doing any damage there. The Archons are now hitting these Vikings. The Vikings not really being microed, but again, at the same time, with this many Stalkers, you don't have a really big ground army. So presumably the Protoss could just warp in another big ground army now. Yeah. I would not be going for Colossi anymore here.
Well, he killed a few of the Vikings. The Viking count is just so high that the Terran ground army wasn't enough to overwhelm the Zealots. It was not a good ratio there. So he keeps 4 Vikings alive. So I think going back into Colossi is not a terrible choice, but switching to Templar is definitely something he wants to be doing at the same time. This is a lot of damage here on the main base. He kills the Warp Prism, yeah, but the bigger problem is the SCVs that are being killed by the Zealots themselves.
The Protoss has restarted Colossus production. Despite there being 4 Vikings out here. And it looks like he might try to push out across the map. I'm surprised he didn't remake another Warp Prism. and then try to do maybe a double-pronged attack here.
Yeah, or start Storm. He's still been...
worker count, by the way, 67 to 53. So these Zealots are starting to pay off here, really slowing down the mineral gathering.
Especially killing a mule, for example. That's a lot of minerals mined very, very quickly. It really hurts the economy. There's the Storm research. There are those additional Templar being added. Just keep those in the army. Don't make them into Archons. By the time the next fight happens, he's going to have so many Storms available.
So far, neither player really able to wreck the other one. The fourth base is coming up here. He'll be able to get these gases. That's going to give him a lot of Templars and Zealots if he wants from there, which is a very easy to replenish army coming up here, as well as the Storms. I mean, that makes things a lot easier. Enough Ghosts out right now for the Terran player Cure.
Yeah.
And with the supplies the way they are, I don't know if anybody can do too much damage to the other one.
It's hard to commit.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm going to see a drop here on that fourth base, or landing, I should say. He is getting the shields upgrade. The next step, maybe once he gets that fourth base, is to add a fleet beacon and go Tempest. We've seen this sort of transition become more and more popular. On this map especially, there's a lot of dead airspace, so you could use them to do a lot of different things. It's hard to just stim and run underneath them with the high grounds in the middle of the map.
Yeah.
The little 3 pieces of Bulgogi in our Kimbap triangle over there.
Oh, nice snipe there. Does manage to take off this little edge. By the way, overall, our Protoss player Paralyze has a nice spread of Templars throughout the map. I mean, yes, they can be sniped, but to have them spread out like that, so you might be able to get a really good Storm off here and there,
it's
and
worth it.
Put a damper on the HP there for Cure's army. Totally worth it. The fourth base is just now secured now that this planetary fortress is planted and everything. But let's see if Protoss tries to edge in here.
It's a very secure base because it's on the high ground also, so to attack into it, you have to commit up a high ground into a concave where there's also a planetary behind that. So, I like the choice to make that into a planetary. Good Viking angle here. That was not the best EMP, nor was that one. He's whiffed actually a few of them now, but he just has so many ghosts that he doesn't care too much. Those are good ones. Erasing those Templar off the map. And ghosts actually do so much damage to light units anyways. It's not even just about the EMP. Probably could have just killed that Templar without even a snipe. These Vikings are a bit...
yeah, not being supervised.
Yeah.
Did take out a nice amount there. And it's going to come down to just how they actually control their armies here. We see the Templars coming in here now. Really nice Storms. Absolutely incredible Storms.
Amazing Storms. Needs like one more, though, to actually make it finish these units off. The Ghosts are already being healed pretty rapidly. 6 Templar left on the map. Question is which ones have Storms.
Now, he does have a Warp Prism coming up here, but not enough supply to dump out enough Zealots. He'll actually have to engage over here if he wants to unload that, and that might be why he's pushing forward now, since he can't get the Zealots out. Now, as these... Okay, yeah, this is... Well, I don't even know why he did that quickly.
Yeah, it was a bit strange.
Yeah.
But you know what,
now
actually,
he's going to lose his Warp Prism.
That's a lot of Terran army supply. It's not with his actual army, so those of you Zealots,
that's
probably
true,
like, that's fine. If he could kill these Ghosts, that would be excellent for him. Observer very lucky to escape. There's only one Colossus in the composition. There are 9 Vikings on the map. So, again, not the best ratio. That's kind of a lot of dead weight for him.
Well, the Protoss is backed off again. This is one of these games where neither player can really, shut down the other. You can see there's been a lot of trading here back and forth. Splitting up, for instance, these small numbers of Marauders to try to take out the Templars, but this is a smart move here. Sending out these DTs, this is going to force the Terran to spend a lot more energy here on scans instead of dropping mules. Now, when the turrets get up here, it's another story, but it's at least a smart move for Paralyze to do for now. And I think that's something he can certainly use later on here. He needs to really micromanage this. I mean, this is actually something he could have done that could have done a lot more damage. It's a bit disappointing to see.
Yeah, all he has to do is shift queue it, He's going to kill this base. The DTs, though, alone forced a lot of scans. Talk about that in a second, as this is getting heated up over here. But he made turrets, which cost money, their static defense. He had to use scans, which slows down his mining, because he would rather use mules on those. So not a bad investment, because the Protoss is rich right now. That's why he keeps dumping all these resources into this harassment. That's like 2 more scans used here. He's going to maybe save that 1 DT anyways.
Well, I got to say, Protoss is pretty airtight right now with the defense. He's got, observers everywhere to spot, to check the movements here of Cure. He's got a nice cannon wall over there in the corner in case a drop does come in. That's probably the most likely place for a drop to occur. Blanketed storms here to keep the Terran busy while he's trying to get into the front here. A small army stimming to run up. And this is a mistake here by the Terran. The storms are going to be very effective right now.
Yeah, very, very effective indeed. If he can get a feedback off, that would be awesome. He does get one. Another EMP there on the high ground using that medevac for vision.
Now, he is also using DTs. He's warping them in here very quickly over in the upper left to keep Terran busy. So it's going to be pretty tough for Terran to secure another base. Another big attack coming up here, though. And we don't see the Terran kiting just yet. There he goes now. Some Vikings landing on the high ground as the presence of Colossus is gone.
Yep, now he's finally got those two at the back. He needs to lift those Vikings back up into the sky. A few more running down to join them. But they're all so low on hit points. Now he gets a good angle from the side, or at least is attempting to. Good EMPs here. This is a situation where right now Paralyze does not want to overcommit. He has taken some good trades. He still has a good bank. The bank that Cure is rebuilding right now still, though. And he's also now starting to realize, okay, I don't know if I need that many Vikings. I'm going to add 4 medevacs back into my comp because I don't have that many.
Well, the problem is that when he has this many Vikings, yeah, he will beat the Colossi, but he doesn't have the opportunity to harass.
Yeah.
Whereas for the Protoss, it's a little bit easier. I mean, you get one warp prism, and you can warp in as many Zealots into their main, for instance, as you have gateways. And then you can even chrono boost all those gateways and do it again if you want. Nice targeting!
Oh,
that's what he needed to do. Pull the rug out from under Cure there. Smash that expansion and book it out of there.
That's like the scene in the movie where the guy comes up behind somebody and hits him in the head with a bottle, man.
Yeah, man. Or like in Steven Seagal, he just does the neck break.
Yeah.
And then as he lowers him to the ground, he's like, shh.
Yeah, it's
Then he Solid Snakes it and pulls him back there.
Snake's such a badass character, man.
And then Snake gets in that box, and I can't take the game seriously anymore as I watch him run around.
It was like his
how could he run squatting like that? Like, who can do that?
This is taunt and Smash
This guy a
Brothers.
polka dancer the rest of the time? He's not sneaking around killing people. Now we have a scan here. It looks like the bunker's going to go down. And this is one nice thing about DTs. Yes, they're invisible, but if you have enough of them, even when they're scanned, the damage output's going to be too high. And this is going to allow the Protoss to probably poke in here and deny this expansion once again. Meanwhile, SCVs are retreating.
He's just being spread too thin. He's really struggling to defend his base and also prepare for a good engagement because there's a lot of setup actually that goes into a TVP engagement on both sides. You can't just... He's going to try to EMP these, I guess. You can't just, just 1A. You have to split, spread, get into a good position beforehand. I really thought he would just EMP those because then they become permanently...
Yeah, I don't know why he's not doing that right now.
Well, not permanently revealed, but like using energy on one ghost to reveal 3 DTs is better than using a scan. I guess like maybe he was out of energy after that cloaking, but +3 shields is on the way, and that's just never a good sign for a Terran player when those Archons that are already so tanky get even more tanky. Ouch. Now I like this sensor tower that's going up. It's pretty expensive for a Terran who's lacking a bank pretty significantly. Oh, that's going to hurt some
Nice.
goals.
No, it's actually perfectly
it's
placed.
fine.
Yeah, he's completely fine.
You're right.
Well, I think Protoss might have this in the bag. I mean, the Terran, yes, he did secure that expansion over there, but the 2 expansions that Terran has, the Protoss can poke into. It's much tougher for the Protoss to keep expanding over here to the left side of the map, especially with DTs being used constantly.
Yeah, he's basically just got pylons, DTs everywhere. This one DT is like, are you going to scan to kill this? Oh, are you? Well, it doesn't matter because I have such good upgrades. I'm just going to kill 4 units with 1 and save the pylon. He scanned a second time. Who knows why? Maybe that was a different sound.
Look at this. He can warp in. Oh my God!
He walked High Templar into
wrecked, son.
That was
really nicely done there.
Yeah, I mean,
by Paralyze, and this is one way to beat a Terran without having to directly engage them. If you do enough harass here and there, and you have a good unit comp, you're basically fine.
He's kind of choking them out. Eventually these bases are going to be mined out, whereas the Protoss could take any base on the left side of the map that he wants. He has a better worker count. And, this Terran army better not stick around too much. He's got way too much damage here. The Vikings, 19 of them, are completely out of position. There they are. He needs those to engage. He cannot fight without them. They do have good upgrades, but even the shield upgrade is going to apply.
Nice storms there to zone out those Vikings. He's edging up here. Nice blink in. A few more storms, and they do go down as well. Just chipping off some life on the Vikings. Now here's where Paralyze is being quite smart. He just backs off again. He says, "Well, I'm pretty much ahead. I think I have this if we go into late game." By the way, this could be one of the only games where we could have every expansion actually taken here. Oh my God, those storms are so good.
Yeah, the ghosts can eat so much damage though, and if they can just walk away and survive, they can heal a little bit longer. But it doesn't look like Paralyze really wants to give them the opportunity. Well, they could actually take a forward engagement here, maybe.
Oh my God! He's decided. Yep. He's decided to humiliate his opponent. That's not an expansion, guys. Hence the no minerals there.
Yes. Not going to use this for a Nexus cannon.
Oh man, what if we were at that phase of the meta? I'd go for offensive Nexus cannon.
It's only 400 minerals. I mean,
we look at the amount of units that can take out.
I mean, you put a Nexus behind that base, you put an overcharge on.
What if this was offensive Nexus, Wolf?
What if he is, man?
What if he was just like, no, this is what we do now?
He gets vision of the high ground. He's like, well, I mean, 400 minerals for 4 zealots, that doesn't kill my SCVs. You know how much damage my Nexus cannon can do? Plus, it protects my Colossi against the Vikings.
I would love to see him actually do that.
That would actually be really funny.
At this point in time, he's trying to damage Cure's morale here.
Thing is, like, this game is not over. I mean,
it was kind of a weird moment to do that. I mean, I mean, when Paralyze does that, it tells us that he's saying, "Oh no, I got this easy peasy." But truth be told, yeah, Protoss is in a lead, but I mean, you really have a little bit more work to do before you try to close this out.
Most people wouldn't do that until they double their
Don't pop up in the champagne bottles just yet.
I think he's just trying to say, like, how much bank I have. You know how many of your bases I've killed? I'm going to do it again. Why are you still here? You have no chance. I'm not going to attack into you because that's the only way I could lose, but I will put this symbol that costs 400 minerals on the ground just to remind you. These two high tempo are in such a perfect position to prevent retreat. And here we go. He's going to drop. Oh, nice EMPs. That command server was not canceled, though.
Well, I think he might just have too many storms. And now with the blink up over here, the Vikings are not fast units, so it looks like the Colossi can just take them out. Even though the Vikings are taking out a good number of the Colossi have already dealt the damage onto the ground. We may be seeing GG here as the Terran has basically run out of options.
He's out of options, man.
Yeah, and by the way, I got to say, Paralyze played this very well. An exemplary game of solid PvT.
Yeah, GG. Nicely done. Very calm, patient game. Maybe the Nexus cannon was like a bit too soon. I mean, the
well, I was wondering for a second because I would love to see something a little bit newer here in PvT. I thought, well, maybe he was just going to keep the Nexus there and have a mothership core there or something.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that's...
I mean, if you think about it, like, the reason why that doesn't work is not because, like, 400 minerals isn't worth it. Because if you actually could get, like, vision of those SCVs on the high ground and put a cannon there, like, it could kill a lot, but that Nexus is, like, so vulnerable, it's going to get killed before it's made. There's no way you're going to actually control that area of the map for long enough.
Yeah.
And would you rather spend your Nexus or your Mothership Core energy on that or on Time Warp, which is actually going to win you some fights?
Exactly. So we're going to go on to game number 2 now. Paralyze is looking very good, by the way. From start to finish, he was solid there.
Yeah. And actually, his hair's grown on me a little bit.
All right. Wolf approves the do. I think, I don't know, man. I think Paralyze is probably going to get out of this group. Just based off his PvT. He's one of these guys that knows exactly how to just stay alive and defend. And then he just waits for you to... He waits for the Terran to feed into him.
This result was actually a bit surprising to me, especially considering what Cure has done TVP-wise. It just seemed like Paralyze had his number, like he prepared so well for this matchup. But if he prepared so much for this matchup that's why Cure is losing, then I'm worried about Paralyze later for PvPs. But if Cure is having an off day, then...
Well, I mean, look at Paralyze. He definitely tried to intimidate his opponent with a Nexus.
Yeah.